Hi guys, welcome to week 2 of the training videos, part 3. So today, this video, we're going to be going through recalls. So I know that this is one of the big ones when you're out and about on a walk, or even when you're in the garden trying to get your dogs to come in, or if they're chasing another dog, chasing a rabbit, things like that. So recalls are something that's quite important to start early on, just in case your dog does ever shoot out the front door, or in case you do accidentally drop the lead when you're on a walk. So it's one of those kind of safety behaviours that you really want to make sure is quite good. So to start off with then, so the recall word itself needs to be something that everyone in the family is using. So for AJ, it's here, and he knows he's going to get a treat for coming to me. So when we're using the recall word, we don't want to overuse it. So I wouldn't just say to him here, 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 and then reward at the end. I would use it once, give him a few seconds to think about it, and reward him for coming back. And when I'm out on a walk or when he's out in the garden, I'm going to probably ask him first, AJ, almost as attention to name, and then here, so that he comes to us. So that he understands that I'm asking him to do something, and then I call him with the recall word. So when we say here, we want him to come from one location to us. We don't really want to use here in a way that we're going to change direction. We don't want to go here, come on, here, come on. So that would be more of a this way, or come on then. Like it would be something different than the recall word itself. So you've got to try and make sure when you ask him the recall word, when he does it, he gets rewarded for it. So you're making sure you're using the right command at the right time. So when they're out in the garden, maybe when they're not actually distracted by much, they're just having a little bit of a sniff, we can go out there and we can practice the recall. So we want to make sure that we set them up to succeed. So don't go out in the garden while they're chasing squirrels or while they're chasing a bird and try and ask them to come to you, because they're probably not going to do that at that stage. You can also do it in the house. If they're randomly walking off, sniffing something, you can call them with their name plus their recall word, so you can practice. Every time they come back to you, make sure you reward. So don't ask for a sit, a down, or a backflip. Just ask for here and then reward for that. AJ's just sitting in front of me at the minute, so I'm going to cheat today. At home, you can do it when they're randomly walking around doing their own thing. You could probably do it with 2 people, so one person's here, one person's over there, and then one person calls them to them, then the vice versa calls them to them. So we can start teaching them the word we need to come to us. But for me, I've not got another person in here today, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to call him chuck a treat that way behind us, and then call him back from the treat. So chuck a treat that way, AJ, here, good, and then reward. Ready? AJ, here, good. And I understand that I'm cheating quite a bit here because I can't practice the recall while he's standing there staring at me, and he's not really going to wander off because I'm the one with the treats in here. So, but you get the idea. You've got to try and have the name of the dog as always attention. Here is them coming back to us. So those that haven't really done recalls before, or those dogs that haven't really done recalls before, you might want to add something to it. So if you say, for instance, at home you've got your dog Brody here, and then nothing happens, you might want to add a little bit of a tap on the legs. You might want to add a, come on then, let's go. Something exciting, getting them to want to come to you. When they do, instantly reward, and then make a good fuss of them. So you might need to add something else to it, so that you make them more excited to come back to you. And also it increases the speed in which they return to you, which is quite important, so that you're making sure they're excited about coming back. And if you call them once and they don't respond, give it like 2-3 seconds, call them again, add again something to it. So the first time you might just say, Brody here, and he doesn't do it. The second time you might be like, Brody here, yeah, brilliant, excellent. So you're getting them to kind of come to you a little bit more. But obviously when you're using the here, making sure you don't then add, Brody here, 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 because then you're going to repeat yourself over and over again, and you're not necessarily going to get the right response when you ask for it. So you want it to be one recall, and 100% of the time if possible. So if you know they're not going to come back to you, don't call them at this stage. You want to make sure that you know they're going to come back when you call them, because you want to make sure it's 100% successful if possible. So call them when you know they're going to respond. One little thing when you're out and about on a walk, again, like when you're starting off with the recalls, making sure you pick your battles. If you're on lead and you see a dog around, and you know that your dog was really excited around dogs, maybe not recall them at that point. Maybe just call them after that dog's disappeared, so that you make sure you're reinforcing the recall and not just getting frustrated with your dog for not listening to you. Hopefully that's helped a little bit with the recalls, and if you wanted to pause the video now and have a quick go at home, so whatever your dog's doing at the stage, just try and call them back from it. Try and do it 5 or 6 times if you can when you pause the video, and then have a bit of a rest, and we'll go on to move on to some more troubleshooting ideas, and also to make it a little bit harder for your dogs at home. Brilliant. So hopefully you had a go. I know it's really kind of forced in this situation, so recalls are one of those things that you want to practice throughout the day, so make sure you maintain that recall rate. And one of the things that you've got to think about when you're out on a walk or when you're in the garden, don't overcall them. So if you're out there and you call them back 15 times and they get a treat 15 times, they might be thinking, oh, for goodness sake, I've come back. So try and do it when you need it. So when you're out on the walk, probably 10 times, brilliant, that's all. When you're out in the garden, 5 or 10 times, perfect. So that you're just kind of making sure that the dogs are still engaging and enjoying coming back to you. You're not making it boring, and you're not making it, oh, for goodness sake, Mum, not again. So you want to make sure you're maintaining that value of reinforcement. And that brings us on to food as well as. So depending on what food you've got, depends on the response of your dog, potentially. So if you've got a few bits there kibble in your pocket, along with a bit of chicken, along with a bit of ham maybe, a bit of hot dog sausage, and then also some boring little treats that are normal treats, like you can then choose your reinforcer. You can choose when you want them to get high reinforcement and when you want them to get a low reinforcement. So like for instance, when he's in the garden and he's about to chase a squirrel, you call him away and he comes away, chicken, brilliant, here you go, perfect. So you call them to you first, reward with the chicken, and make a good praise. So they're getting a bigger reinforcement for coming away from something that they would normally chase. Same as when they're doing a normal recall in the garden 10 times, and you're just doing an easy one, maybe a little bit of their kibble sometimes a bit of chicken, but most of the time it's just a boring little treat. So you're making sure you're maintaining the reinforcement, but it's a bit of a gamble sometimes. Sometimes they might get something nice for doing the easy behaviour. So when you're out on walks, obviously try and do it when you know they're going to do it, but for dogs that do have quite a high like scent drive or a high kind of chase drive, what you want to try and do is teach them to be to break away from it while they're on the lead. And you can always use long lines for this. So if you've got a long line at home, so we do 20-foot long lines in the shop, so by all means let us know, and we'll be able to send one out to you if you wanted one. And basically you can have the line on the dog, let them have most of the line, let them have a run around, and then try recalls on that line so that you can practice without letting them off lead to start with. Because if you start with them off lead straight away and they don't succeed with the recalls, you're then going to set them up to fail, and they're probably just going to end up ignoring you. So hopefully that's given you some ideas to go away with and practice at home. And yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.